All right, and we're live. As welcome to Woodward Tigers here on the Woodward Sports Network. I'm Rogelio alongside me is Chris Brown and Yooper. You can find us on Spotify, iTunes, iHeartMedia, and Stitcher. And right now, you're probably wondering the the lack of conversation on Twitter tonight. Well, it's the Tristan McKenzie effect, as Riley Green has struck out 4 times. Is that right, gentlemen?
I believe he did go 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts.
Is
Yes,
that a golden
indeed.
sombrero?
Yep. Second
Which
one.
of the Tigers' 5 singles has been your highlight tonight?
Yeah.
You know what? Yooper, I did see. I was so this evening I played softball for a team called Cash Considerations, and special shout out to the folks over there that run that team, Greg and Cody and Max. Subbing tonight, and they invited me out for a adult beverage, and so I had one and decided. And I realized what time it was, and I'm now flying home to do the podcast. So that's it's my evening. But yeah, the Tigers had more hits than we did. We got smoked 17-0.
Ooh.
So we played against a team that I'll be honest, it's a team that probably should have been in a higher division co-ed. Like a lot of the co-ed team definitely did not. Were way better than us. They took it a little more seriously. They're attacking up to 12-0. So they're a bunch of assholes. But whatever, it is.
So you lost to some girls? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, it doesn't matter if I lost to women. These women. There was one girl who smoked the ball right over the third baseman's head. They had some really good team. No, my point is the guys. The guys were just taking it a little too seriously. That's all.
The guys. Yeah, no, I was just kidding about the girls. I'm sure there are probably some legit softball players on there.
Oh yeah.
No,
so
that's the main thing that's awful about softball is anybody taking it too seriously.
Oh, yeah. It's the worst.
Yeah, just Tristan McKenzie against the Tigers. The Tigers cannot do anything against him. I watched a little bit of his start in between the innings, and when I was getting a drink. And guys, he's got a really good curveball. I cannot stress enough. And he's 160 pounds soaking wet. And he set a career high for most strikeouts in a game tonight against the Tigers, and he went over 100 pitches, which surprised me. But then again, it's like, well, if you're Terry Francona, why take him out when he's dominated the Tigers every time they faced him?
It's basically a stress-free outing for him tonight.
Yeah.
I mean, 5 singles, no walks. I mean, it was just breezing on through.
Yeah, there's something about it almost feels like if you're a pitcher with a plus breaking ball, you're just going to have your way with the Tigers. It doesn't matter. Dylan Cease, Tristan McKenzie, just do whatever you want to. And it gets awfully frustrating after we're at game 86 here of this year and also the 5 years before.
Yeah.
Well, and the other thing is you're never under any stress of giving up a 3-run homer. I mean, how many, you're going to go through that lineup and you got a couple guys on. There's nobody who's going to take you deep. I mean, it's a fluke if it happens right now. So they're a stress-free opponent.
They had the one threat there where there were 2 on with Haas up, I think, at 2 outs, and he struck out because, it's tough. But I don't know. Yeah. This is like,
Go ahead,
I was just going to say, we were kind of excited about the Riley Green effect, the offense turning around. And what instead seems to have happened is that the offense has invaded Riley Green. Like, Venom has taken over Riley Green, and now he can't hit it either. It's either a strikeout or a weak ground ball to second base.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, too. And it was going to happen, but the Tigers are going to have to take their lumps for a while. It's going to continue to be a process. And it sucks. There's no other word to say it. It's absolutely 100% sucks. And someone told me this evening, I feel sorry that you have to do a podcast about it. Well, I love talking baseball, so it doesn't matter. But speaking of baseball, by the way, we're talking baseball. That was a bad segue. Sorry. We had Joe Doyle on from Prospects Live earlier, so check out that podcast. That's going to be part of our bonus episode. It's been a while since we've done a bonus episode, but we got some great draft content, and so we're going to talk draft tonight. We're going to talk about the Tigers' lack of scoring on. Well, we talk about that every week, so that not going to change much. But the trade deadline, the All-Star break coming at a perfect time for Detroit. And again, we're going to probably rant and rave about Shohei Ohtani. And this is going to be the official. No, I can't be, because Ben Verlander will get mad at us and say, well, I was a Ohtani fan first anyway. But he did it again. He had a great start last night against Houston and dialed in. But so what I wanted to start the podcast with, in addition to the draft discussion, Chris, you had an article that was posted today by MLB.com that has, we here at Woodward Tigers love numbers. We love stats. We love anything about batted ball data, anything that just allows us to talk about the game in a more intelligent way. And Chris, Mike, forgive me for, he did a fantastic job with the article today. Talk about the sweet spot on the bat and fastest bat speed. Who had the fastest bat speed, Chris? Because it surprised me for being a rookie.
Yeah, so the way it was Julio Rodriguez was the one that they had noted as the fastest. I think it was 96 point something miles per hour. But yeah, it's a great article. He goes into depth about how different parts of the bat are traveling at a different rate of speed, but they want to measure basically the sweet spot, how fast that's going. And they, at this point, it's kind of all experimental. They had put these extra cameras only at Dodger Stadium and Minute Maid Park in Houston. So they have a lot of data on Dodgers hitters and Astros hitters, and then anybody else who's come to visit there. And it looks like the Tigers missed out on both of those parks by about 2 weeks. They went to Dodger Stadium, I don't know, at the end of May or end of April, and we're in Houston the early part of May, and so they missed out on that. But it's something I've been wanting for a couple of years now, ever since Hawkeye was added, because it feels like they're finally at a point where they can actually measure these types of things, bat speed. And I feel like that's kind of the huge, teams have been doing this for years, right? We've seen the blast motion sensors and all that stuff. And it just felt like we were kind of at a loss or out in the dark when it comes to, it's just another stat, but it's kind of fun to know, okay, yeah, this guy has tremendous bat speed. That's why he's successful. Or this guy has great bat speed, but he doesn't make good contact. What's that all about? So that's just another layer of stats for us to dig into, and it's pretty fun. But it's not complete yet.
It'll be fun to see Torkelson.
I was just gonna say, in first, how fast he's dragging the bat through the zone, because we noticed that he's had problems getting through the middle of the zone all season long. So that would be interesting to see him, or I would like to see the bat speed of Robbie Grossman, because it just seems like sometimes lately his bat seems slower at the plate, but that's just me.
Yeah, I mean, that'll definitely be an interesting application when that comes out. It feels almost like an invasion of privacy for these guys, but it's no different than a pitcher who loses a mile an hour off his fastball, right?
Yep.
We're gonna be like, oh, you know what, Miguel Cabrera's bat speed is down 2 miles an hour this year from last year. You'll be able to pick up on injuries maybe earlier, and you'll be able to see guys who are in decline. I don't know. Like I said, it's just another layer of stats for us to pick through and have some fun stuff to talk about. And this is the first glimpse of it, and it was a really great article. You're right. And so people should check it out.
It'll be fun to see an aging curve.
Yeah.
Of bat speed. I'm very interested to see that someday.
Well, we'll post the article link here in the chat shortly. One of the other part of that too, the reason why it was funny that Los Angeles was part of it was on Fangraphs. They had an article about how LA is hitting the ball, and that's how it's the same thing, similar to what the Giants are doing, right, Chris?
Well, so the article about the Dodgers on Fangraphs was kind of about they were talking. It was almost like Torkelson as a team. They were talking about how the Dodgers are really bad when it comes to pitches right down the middle of the plate in the heart of the zone. That's the article you're talking about, right?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, and a lot of those, as they pointed out in the article, a lot of the times it's part of Fangraphs does. They order it by runs, I guess, in the 4 areas. It's the heart, the shadow area, the chase, and the waist. And all teams are negative in the heart, except for the Yankees, which were super positive, which was kind of wild. And they said a lot of that is just because that's from taking pitches. You take a pitch down the middle of the zone, it's considered a negative because you should have been driving that, basically. But so the Dodgers were really bad at that, but also extremely good in the shadow zone, in the chase zone. And turns out the Tigers are bad at everything.
Yeah, that's it's an understatement there. But both articles to me were good reminders of why this data is important to share and why teams are having an advanced approach at the plate. And especially when we saw this week against the Tigers in the Royals series, the Tigers could not get any. I felt like the Royals, anytime the Tigers threatened, the Royals were just able to just simply get a slider, blow it away, and the Tigers could not make contact. You were talking about the breaking ball percent hitting the breaking ball. The Tigers could not do it. And even in the game against the Royals where they did win, the Royals, I think, committed 2 errors in that game, and it was a calamity of errors. But Tarik Skubal, I wanted to talk about Tarik Skubal's performance for a moment because he was hitting 99. Of course, the radar gun in Kansas City said 100, but we know that was kind of fool's money. But Yooper, I don't know if you caught his start, but I thought Tarik Skubal, that was his best start of the year, his best start since earlier in the year.
Yeah, it definitely was kind of a bounce back. Early on, I wasn't sure where that was going, but you could see those velocity readings were up. The kid's a good pitcher. There's just no two ways about it. I'm going to talk about him in the inside the numbers here in a little bit. It's to the point now where you want to see what the next level of progression for him is. And I don't know what that needs to be for sure. But he went through that 4 or 5 start stretch here where he wasn't as effective. And, it just seemed like it was down to location more than anything, which is a common problem for a young pitcher. So it's going to be interesting to see moving forward if he has that back on track.
Chris, what you notice about his start?
Yeah, I mean, it was a real bummer the way it went down. I was basically in that one inning. Official scorers this year have apparently been given the order to not call errors unless they're just absolutely egregious. So Skubal committed an error. I mean, it was his own error, so it's always odd when a pitcher commits an error and then doesn't get charged with an earned run. But and then there was just a bunch of soft contact. There was one hard double, I think, or one hard hit, and then tons of soft contact. Jonathan Scope made an error. There was a field of choice that didn't work. I don't know if I tweeted it out or I posted it in the Discord, but it felt a lot like those old school Metrodome era Minnesota Twins innings, like just a Jeremy Bonderman meltdown on the mound with Nick Puto circling the bases 4 times, and it felt like a bizarre, unfortunate inning. And what really sucked is, he was pitching well. I wouldn't say he didn't seem to have everything working. I don't think there were a ton of swings and misses. I don't remember exactly, but he was pitching well enough. It was basically that one meltdown inning, and other than that, he was fine. But it's just a bummer when you see something like that. It did remind me a lot of we talked about this. I think you were saying, the next step. I would say the next step is just the consistency, which is something that takes a long time. We didn't get it from Verlander and Scherzer for 4+ years, where they were able to bring that consistency every single start. And part of that, I think, is learning how to manage your body and your in between starts to make sure that you're always, even early, let's say Skubal feels great early on in the season, knowing not to go too far in a outing or not exert himself too much, get some easier outs, things like that can help you down the line. I think that's something that you just need to learn through practice, as it were. So I think that's the next step, but I took it as a positive start, even though it was a loss.
I agree. It's funny, though. You bring up the Bonderman meltdown game in the Metrodome.
Yeah.
I was there.
Well, I mean,
you're thinking about.
So I don't know. I just remember.
There was one famous one, 2006, as they were blowing the division. It was Bonderman against Santana. And Bonderman, he had retired 22 in a row. I want to say at least that into the 8th inning. He was cruising, and all of a sudden that Metrodome magic popped up. It was Carlos Guillen threw a ball away to give him an extra base. A ball went through Chris Shelton's legs. A Nick Punto dribbler down the line stays fair. Bonderman box. I mean, just madness set in. And the whole game they had Santana on the ropes, but they had like a 3-0 lead. They should have been up like 7-0, but they just couldn't cash in. And that was, everybody called that the Bonderman meltdown game. And I had the unfortunate time of being there.
So here it is. It is July 30th, 2006.
There you go.
The Tigers were up 3-0 heading into the bottom of the 8th inning.
Yes.
Let's look and see the plays that happened. I just remember Bonderman coming off the mound and mouthing, "I hate this effing place."
But he had given up he gave up like a bunt single in the first inning, and then he retired 22 in a row after that. He was rolling.
Let's see. Yep. Let's see. Single to third base on a bunt. Yeah. Luis Castillo bunt single, strikeout, fly ball, double play, fly ball, strikeout, ground out, fly ball swinging, strikeout, ground out, strikeout, line out, fly ball, strikeout, line out, ground out, walk, strikeout, fly ball, strikeout. And here is the 8th inning. Single to shortstop on a ground ball. Justin Morneau advances to second on an error from Carlos Guillen.
Terrible throw. He should have put it in his pocket. He was running to his left, threw it across his body, and threw it away. It was stupid.
Your memory of this game is spectacular. Here you go. Next is Jason Skubal reaches on an error on
Shelton.
E3. Is that first baseman Chris Shelton? Yep.
Shelton right through his legs.
Up next, Mike Redmond, double to left field. Skubal scores an unearned run.
Probably the only hard hit ball of the inning.
So it's now 3-2 after being 3-0. Then single for right field, single to third base, ground ball. So infield single. There's the balk to tie the game. Then a ground out to go up 4-3. Fly ball, intentional walk, and then a triple to center field. And it is now 6-3. Jamie Walker comes in to get the final strikeout of the inning. Yeah. And then Joe Nathan comes in and closes it out.
Yep.
So anyway, so yeah, that Skubal inning reminded me of that. And as we can remember, it's funny. I don't remember I couldn't tell you exactly what happened in that one inning in the in Tampa when the Tigers scored like 8 runs in the 9th to come back and win. I just know that they did it. But yeah, if you tell me a terrible inning, and I probably would remember it pretty well, but not as well as you did. That'd be impressive. So, anyway, that's our trip down memory lane.
Yes, it was.
You still there?
What we got?
I don't know if he's maybe he's in traffic.
Maybe.
Yeah. So I mean, we and that was a 1-4, a 1-3 series against the Royals. It's just It's so incredibly frustrating. Everybody was feeling pretty good. It was like, hey, the Tigers are winning. They won 6 in a row all against the Central. They shaved Ramon Santiago's hair. And then it just was right back to the same garbage. Just not getting hits when they needed, when they had people on base, nothing. And then, you get dominated in a game tonight by Tristan McKenzie, and it just feels like it just headed right back downhill again. And
it's just amazing that they've gone completely powerless. I mean, you look back a year ago, and we expected some regression on a couple guys. I know that, but Grossman was a 20 homer guy. Scope was a 20 homer guy. Candelario hit 16. They had some different little power sources that propelled them once in a while, and that is completely gone this year. That's been my takeaway from the last week is there is just never a stressful at bat for the opposing pitcher too often where they're afraid of a homer, and that means a lot. So, it's just I don't know what. There's nothing they can do to fix it now this season, but it's becoming more and more obvious that it's a tall task ahead for next year. Unless Riley Green and Spencer Torkelson take pronounced steps forward in year 2, obviously for Torkelson's fate here, they're going to have to make some real power acquisitions. And of course, nobody could have predicted that Meadows would be a complete zero in the power department. I mean, no one saw that coming. That could change next year, potentially.
Yeah.
One of the things that
Oh, go ahead, Raj. Sorry.
I was just going to say the one of the things that I wanted to take away from this week was the Royals rookies, and Chris posted a great number on how well they did in the doubleheader. It was like 14 for 24, something in that effect. And same like 2017, 2018 draft picks. Meanwhile, the Tigers don't have crap from those drafts contributing. I mean, they have everybody. We all want to talk about how Spencer Torkelson and Riley Green and their first round draft picks, but that's it. I mean, Akil Baddoo was a Rule 5 pick, but the Royals are through the farm system. The Royals did the same philosophy with pitching, but they've got a better outtake with their offense. I mean, MJ Melendez should not be playing catcher at all. He was terrible behind the plate. But my takeaway from this week is the Royals, even with Andrew Benintendi, that was a smart pickup by them. And they're going to be able to trade him at the trade deadline. Now, again, well, depends now because, well, we'll get to that in a second, where he goes. No AL East team is going to pick him up now. I mean, we found out about the list of them. Apparently, he can't fly to Toronto he didn't get the COVID vaccine, and that's his choice, and he's your own. But nevertheless, that was a smart pickup by the Royals, and they were able to flip that. And yeah, and Bobby Witt Jr. He was part of that chart, Chris. That was part of that article. He's unreal, man.
Yeah, it gets so frustrating because basically for this rebuild to work, Torkelson and Green needed to play at an all-star level, or they eventually need to get to an all-star level or an MVP level for this to work. And even if they do, there's not enough supporting talent to help them. We remember, Tigers would have Miguel Cabrera playing at MVP level, and then also like 4 very good above-average all-star level players behind them. And that's how you get to deep in the playoffs. And there's just it's not there. And then you see things like Pasquantino. He hasn't been lighting the world on fire, but you see the approaches there, the powers there. I think it's going to come around for him. He's a first baseman. They got him in the 11th round in 2019. CJ Cron, remember, got him for like $4 million, $5 million. He's producing like 10 times what Spencer Torkelson is this year. It's like you can find first baseman very easily. And so if you're not going to hit a ton, then it doesn't feel great. And so you see this guy in the 11th round doing it. And then, Riley Green, we're all excited about him. He's a 2019 draft pick. Michael Harris of Atlanta, also 2019 draft pick, 3rd rounder, I think. He's already got 8 home runs. He's making spectacular defensive plays. He's stealing bases. He looks like a future superstar. They got him.
Homer tonight.
Yeah, they got him like 65 picks after Riley Green. We've talked about, hey, the Tigers are finding some guys on the mound, and they are. We should give them credit for that. But there's still, unless Kerry Carpenter comes up and turns into, I don't know, some random Reggie Jackson clone, like they just aren't finding bats anywhere, and it's getting super frustrating.
Yeah, and it's also the fact that you've seen this going on with Kansas City, even with like Singer. Ray Singer went out there and threw gas, and he was doing a really good job. But it's a whole team effort, and to see contributions everywhere, it says something where the Tigers can't even get any production out of what you were talking about earlier, Yooper, about the chip-ins from Grossman, the guys who were contributing last year.
It says something that we're jealous of Kansas City, and they have a worse record than the Tigers. Like whenever the Tigers play them this year, it seems like Kansas City's the better team, and it's like, well, this is kind of frustrating.
It just looks like their future. There's more light at the end of their rainbow. You know what I mean? You can see it.
Yeah.
It just looks like Bobby Witt Jr. is going to be a transcendent star. That kind of guy who just transforms it. Is going to lead you to good things because, I saw something. He's one of the fastest runners in baseball in feet per second or whatever.
I think he's number 1.
He was like number 2 in velocity in throwing from shortstop, and he's hit the ball. Like, I think his longest hit this year is 450 feet. He's doing all these amazing things. There's just really potentially not going to be a weakness to his game eventually.
Yeah, he's got to clean up the defense a little bit, but even if he moves over to third, I think he's going to be more than good enough on offense. Yeah, I don't feel terribly as bad about Bobby Witt because everybody knew he was great. He went second overall in that draft. It was like, he'd go number one in most drafts, not for Adley Rutschman. It's just a bummer that I don't know. Like just finding other guys. Like Emmanuel Rivera looked solid in this series. I don't know if he is, but it's just like, these rookies from out of nowhere they're actually producing, and just nobody on the Tigers producing. And Toledo asked a question in the chat. I don't know if you can see. I put it up there right now. Do you think the issues with hitting resides with what they are teaching? Nobody's hitting at all levels for Detroit. I mean, I wouldn't say at all levels. There are guys hitting. Cody Clemens is hitting for plenty of power in AAA. Kerry Carpenter's been hitting all year. Winslow Perez is hitting well for most of the season.
Colt Keith was hitting.
There's been plenty of guys doing, and most of the West Michigan team is hitting well and getting on base a ton. I don't know, like I've been going through this thing in my head where, and it feels too much like too touchy-feely for me to actually believe. But they sometimes they talk about how teams take on the persona of like their superstar. It's just like, well, Miguel Cabrera is out there slapping singles all over the place, not hitting for power and not walking. And it's like, well, that's kind of what the entire team is doing. And I don't know, like I would never say like, hey, they're just taking after Cabrera, but I don't know, like it's weird. I don't know how else to explain it.
Yeah. Humorous, quite humorous, yes.
Droll, very droll, yes. Whimsical, yes.
That is amusing, yes. Quite jocular, yes.
Yes, mirthful, yes.
Okay, that's enough frivolity.
Yeah, well, it's true because they are taking on the ISO of a point. That's why I thought it was funny because they're taking on the ISO of Cabrera, which is what 0.60, something like that.
That's last I checked. It's got to be lower now.
Wow.
Yeah, or he did double, I thought, but no, it's just Dickerson mentioned on the broadcast tonight. I heard they're like the Tigers are not hitting home runs and they're not hitting doubles. Cleveland isn't hitting home runs, but they're hitting lots of doubles. Tigers aren't doing either. I don't. It's the damnedest thing.
If you have to stream.
Sorry, Yooper, there. I should have warned you that it was going to. There was a quiet moment. I was going to put the inside number. That's our new video thing. There's going to be one for
like
good, bad, and ugly. You like that?
Yeah.
I had no idea that I was like, what is going on? Are we being invaded by some sort of advertiser?
No. So what happens is that when I play any video on here, it'll automatically mute our mics. So
nice.
But anyways, I'll see what everybody thought about it in YouTube. Oh, thanks. All right, Walter liked the insert. So now it is now time for inside of numbers. And Yooper, go ahead. What is your inside number?
Okay, my inside number is 4 times 20,
which is 80.
Well, right, but I wasn't going to give the answer.
Oh, all right.
Basically,
sorry, I was
it's okay. Your math skills are excellent. There are 3 pitchers in Major League Baseball who have registered 20 strikeouts with 4 different pitches. So strike 3 was on 4 different pitches. Can you guys name 3?
I like this. Okay, let's see. 4 different pitches.
Wait. So it's 3 different pitches with 20 strikeouts?
4 different pitches with 20 strikeouts for each one.
Ooh. Shane McClanahan?
Yes.
Shohei Ohtani?
No.
Joe Musgrove?
No.
Let's see. All right. Okay.
Wait, Garrett Cole? Same time.
No.
Same time. Wait. Jose Barrios?
No.
He's not having a great year.
Oh, that's true.
That's interesting. It's tough because you got to think of guys.
First one I'll give you is National League.
Oh, Jeremy in the chat guessed Alcantara.
No.
Oh, wow.
He's not a huge strikeout guy, is he? I mean, he is, but like,
well, and the guy I'm looking for, the first one I'm looking for, National League, he's also not a massive strikeout guy, but I think he's just got a well-rounded repertoire.
It wouldn't be somebody like Spencer Strider, would it?
No.
He's like 70% faster.
Same team?
Max Fried?
And number 3, I kind of gave it before, close to home.
Walter Briggs also in YouTube chat guessed Strider too. That was good. Yeah. And what was the next one? I'm sorry, American League or National League?
Mood.
American League and close to home.
Close to home? Okay. Oh, I'm going to guess Dylan Cease.
No, closer.
Damn it.
Wait, there's 3 of them or 4 of them, right? So
There's 3.
Oh,
McClanahan and Fried. What's that?
Tarik Skubal?
Skubal, yes.
All right.
They're all lefties.
That's too easy. That was, I thought you weren't going to go with, usually you like to let us venture out of our comfort zone. So, but no, you know what? Beaver is a good guess too. That was in the chat as well.
And you know, the cool part, McClanahan and Fried, they're the same 4 pitches. But they had Skubal was the only one with any difference. They didn't have a curveball for him. He's got 21 on his sinker.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's a great dig. I think that's really fun to know that. I mean, this is a guy we talk about his stuff. That's a great illustration of it, that he can get you out with 4 different pitches. That's pretty spectacular.
Yeah.
You know.
Plus, the other 2 guys on the list are pretty darn good.
Yeah. Yeah. And McClanahan has to be the favorite for the Cy Young, I would think. He's got like a 1.5 ERA. Although, who knows. All right, I can move on to mine now.
Yeah, go for it.
So mine is 784 and 105.2. So that 784, that's the number of innings Detroit Tigers pitchers have thrown so far this year. And they've done so to the tune of an ERA. I think it was 4.05 heading into tonight. It's probably similar to there. It's not stellar, ranks like 19th, but their 5th is like 3.95, which is more like 13th. So they've been roughly average pitching all year, which is we said a lot of times that the pitching has not been the issue. I mean, it's been pretty impressive. They've maintained average given all their injuries. But that 105.2 is the number of those innings handled by pitchers taken in the first round of the draft. So,
Yes!
So 13.5%.
Wow.
And even if you add in the innings from sandwich picks, so guys taken, in the competitive balance round or compensation rounds, that's Fulmer, Chafin, and Wentz. It's 173 innings, or 22% of your total innings. And how about the percentage of innings they've received from pitchers taken in the 9th round or later? 46% this year. 46%.
Well, that's embarrassing.
So, and it's one thing, like, okay, you're talking about 39 rounds compared to 1 round, right? Still, it makes me wonder, like, why in the hell is anybody drafting pitching in the first round? I understand that there's some great arms out there, but I've made the comparison before, but it feels like drafting a running back in football. Like, why are you doing this? No one does this anymore. And it's just, I thought of that because of the talk last night about the Tigers being basically locked in on Connor Prelip, the pitcher from Alabama.
Because Harris Fulmer was
Wrong!
Well, we'll see. We'll find out on Sunday, right?
Wrong!
Yeah, I just wanted to use that drop. I just was fun wanted to use it. But
Is Harris the one saying that?
Yep.
He tweeted that he had heard that the Tigers are going to take Prelip. And then he said he's got 3 different people he heard from that suggested that. Now, if I thought the Tigers were savvier than I think they are, maybe they're out there spreading that as much as possible in the hopes that somebody else ahead of them will go after them, and then maybe a hitter that they want will fall to them. But I get a real like late day Joe Dumars GM for the Pistons feel for the Tigers right now. Like, it used to be like
that's a good comp, man.
You'd know who the Pistons were taking like 3 days before it happened. You're like, yep, sounds like they take Austin Day. Like, Austin Day, who the hell is that? And 3 days later, Austin Day. I'm like, oh, all right then. So yeah, like, it would not shock me one bit now if the Tigers take Connor Prelip, and I don't know, I have some severe issues with that, but I will save that for if and when they do it. But yeah,
because look,
so many innings from ninth round and beyond.
Yeah, it's just totally
wrong.
I mean, I'm gonna just say this: there's no pool this year, but I'll find a way. If the Tigers pick Connor
Prelip,
there, all 5. Like, there's gonna be 5 people in the studio. There's gonna be Scott. There's gonna be Trevor, who's in town. Brandon Day, myself, and you. David will be somewhere, our intern Dave, and I think Spencer is going to be a technical director. We're all going to yell and swear. So just heads up. And by the way, that's going to be on the Woodward Sports main feed starting at 7:00. So jumping in the pool. Walter, look, if I could jump in the pool this year, I would. And I would do it. You know what I would do too? If the Tigers picked the pitcher at 12 and we're doing it at Chris's house like we did last year, I would jump in a mini pool of Jello, just because that's how outrageous it sounds right now. Outrageous. But this year we got studio, and I'm looking forward to it. Honestly, Sunday's going to be awesome. So more on that in a little bit. And by the way, everybody liked the graphics. By the way, so I'm glad we're going to use it going forward. Go ahead, Yooper.
I was just saying, you just got to be prepared when they shock you with Kumar Rocker. How insufferable I will be.
Wrong!
It's going to be off the
Wrong!
chart.
I keep using that till wear that button out. Yeah, I think the answer to Toledo's question, a little bit.
Well, so here's the thing about so Toledo said, do you think the gun in Kansas City was juiced? He was hitting triple digits. It doesn't really work like that anymore. It's all Hawkeye tracking. I suppose it could be poorly calibrated, but we looked into it. Like Skubal's average fastball was up 1.4 miles per hour. Everybody else was right around average or down a little bit, except for Scott Barlow, who was up 1.8 miles per hour. So if there was a gun there that was juiced, it was juiced only for the Tiger starter and the Kansas City closer, and not for everybody else. Which doesn't make any sense. I think it was just 90 degrees, and Skubal was loose and feeling it a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. And the humidity down in Kansas City is pretty unbearable too. So I have two inside numbers for this week. Mine is 9.14 and the other is 8.29. And those are the K per nines of two of the hottest teams in baseball in the month of July. The Baltimore Orioles K per nine of 9.14 and Seattle Mariners at 8.29. But the other part of it too is Baltimore 10-2, Seattle 10-1. So their starting pitching has been carrying them. Well, excuse me. Yeah, that's right. Just carrying them through. I should have distinguished it as starters. That's my bad. That was as a total. So Baltimore, by the way, their starters is 8.5. 8 per K per. I cannot talk tonight. 8 per 9. And their other number for that is 7.0. For Seattle, 5-1 with the K per 9 at 7.32. The two hottest teams in baseball are just getting it done with impressive offensive feats a little bit. But this just goes to show this is a team. Baltimore lost 120 games last year. They're the second team to reel off a 9-game or 10-game home winning streak after losing 120 games a season before. The second team since 1889. The Louisville Colonels were the last team to do it. In Baltimore, so everybody that complains about, or everybody who's shouting about, you gotta be patient with the rebuild. Screw that. Look at this. Baltimore looked like we all ragged on Baltimore about left field. We all ragged on how crappy it looked. It was just, we were ragging on them. We're like, Orioles, what are they doing? We're going to be ahead of them in the Tigers are going to be ahead of them in the rebuild. No. And Seattle's getting it together. This is what I'm talking about. You can't make excuses anymore. You can't. It's the same guy, Mike Ellis, by the way, was at the helm of some of the Houston drafts in the early 2010s. People tend to forget that. I wouldn't mind having a guy like that who essentially built out the Astros farm system for them to win the World Series. Jeremy, I love you, man, but 30 in a row on this team. Look, stranger things have happened, but I don't see it. But yeah,
there's never been anything that strange to happen. There's never been a 30-game winning streak.
Yeah, this is not 20, the 35.
20 could happen. Not for this team.
The 6-game winning streak was nice. Ramon Santiago got a fresh haircut. That was great. But it goes on. All right, it's now time for the good and bad and the ugly. How'd you guys like that one, by the way?
Yeah. Thumbs up.
Very nice.
All right.
Right.
So
Just putting out Kerry Carpenter a home run.
oh, nice. That's the second home run in Toledo, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's been hitting off a lot of doubles, but that's only his second home run for Toledo. So it's now time for the good, the bad, and the ugly. Chris, what is your good and bad, and the ugly this week?
So this will be kind of interesting given what we've talked about already. But my good is Corey Seager. The Texas Rangers are a team that I just kind of blank out on. They disappear from the public consciousness, I think, generally, unless they're really like good World Series contenders. So I had noticed that Corey Seager has been awesome for the last month, hitting .302 with 9 home runs and more walks and strikeouts over 26 games. And he's doing that while grading out above average on defense, which is, that's kind of why he got $350 million or whatever it was. So it's been good for a 186 WRC plus and 1.7 WAR in just 1 month, which is, of course, about 2 WAR more than the entire Tigers offense this year. So, and this seems funny, since what we talked about. My bad is Tarik Skubal. And if people have been listening for a while, they know my bad is not a permanent thing. It's just something that's been going wrong. And it's a huge bummer, but Skubal, and he pitched a lot better on Wednesday, like we were talking about. At least much better than his final numbers suggested. But he's been arguably the worst starter in baseball over the last month. He's gone 1-5 with an ERA of 7.26 over 31 innings. His strikeouts per 9 were under 8. His walk per 9 was up to 4. The stuff is still there. The FIP was only 4.72, which is not good, but not nearly as bad as 7.26. So there's been a lot of bad luck. But it's been a really rough stretch. And it was 6 weeks ago or whatever, he was second in all of baseball in FWAR, behind only Kevin Gossman, and now he's 13th, which is still, hey, being 13th is fine. It's just like really kind of hoping that he was going to stay on that path and going to hit the skids here. But hopefully that rough outing the other day was just the start of something better. And in my ugly, and again, we kind of touched on this, but sometimes I'll just go through and I'll be checking the box scores at night, and I'll see the Guardians playing someone, and I'll look, and it's Tristan McKenzie, and he's given up 4 runs or something like that, and I go, that's not possible. That doesn't happen. Because he absolutely disembowels the Tigers every time he faces them. And I was putting these stats together while the game was going on, and he just kept doing it. And then I tweeted out McKenzie Gore, but I then deleted it because people weren't following my own weird train of thought about disemboweling the Tigers. But so 6 games, 38 2/3 innings, 4 earned runs. That's a 0.93 ERA and 6 starts against the Tigers. 19 hits, 8 walks, 49 strikeouts.
That boy is good.
Mm-hmm. Absolute domination of the Tigers, and it's ugly. And I don't know. There must be guys like this for every team, right? But it sure feels like the Tigers just have certain pitchers. They're just like, you just don't even bother going up to the plate. They're not going to hit them.
Yeah, might as well bring a table piece of end of a table
leg,
or something like that. Yeah, table leg. That's
Table
how,
leg.
yeah. Do that. Yeah, do it like that when what was it? Randy against Randy. Oh, no, it was. I'm sorry, it was a Tiger.
Nolan Ryan, I think. Was it
Norm Cash?
Yeah, Norm Cash against Nolan Ryan. Yeah, it's again, and when you go, and this is a guy who was struggling in the minors. Remember, he was struggling in the minors when they called them up last year. Remember that? And he was first starting against the Tigers. He looked like a G. It's just.
Yep.
He damn near had a perfect game or no hitter, didn't he, in one of those games?
I think so. Yeah. But
just given those numbers, he had to be close once. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me see. I'm looking. All right. So it's this
all right. Did you get an ugly, or did you even do ugly yet? Right.
That was my ugly.
Oh, okay.
That was it.
All right, Yooper, go ahead.
Okay. So my good has a lot of good and bad sprinkled in there. You guys may have seen the video last night. It was a minor league game. It was the High Point Rockers against Lancaster, I believe. Controversial play at the end. Double play ball. If the umpire calls him out, they go to extra innings. If he calls him safe, a run scores, and the game is over. The umpire, for a minor league umpire, looked really old to me, which tells me that he's probably a sub. Because a lot of those minor league umpires are younger dudes working their way up. So I bet he's like a local college guy. He was in, and I hate ripping on umpires. He was in terrible position. He wasn't out far enough away from the foul line. He had his body turned, and he calls him safe. And that's when everything went nuts. Evidently, they had a problem with his umpire crew the night before. So the team is out there. The whole team charges the mound basically area, and they're cornering both of these umpires, screaming at them. One of them steps on the umpire's shoe. The umpire flips his shoe up in the air, and he throws it. And now more players are charging him because he threw the shoe. And all these players are basically backing the umpires up to their exit out by the outfield fence. I've never seen umpires get run off the field like that before. It was really something to see. You have to find the video for High Point. There's got to be Frank Viola, who was a hothead of the highest order, was the pitching coach. So he was one of the ringleaders of this, which is not shocking. And the umpires are basically looked like they were afraid for their lives because they were, especially the pitcher for High Point, he was ready to get it on with somebody. Okay, so I shouldn't, as an umpire myself, I shouldn't be that amused by this, but it was an awful call by a kind of a lazy umpire who set this all in motion. So that's where I could find a little bit of humor in this. So if you want to look for that online somewhere, that's definitely worth 2 minutes of your time because you don't see that one very often. Umpires getting chased off the field. My bad. They're being called locally, I heard, the KC-10, the 10 Royals who aren't going to Canada. And we could talk about that. There are 10 different players, and they all have their reasons. But my bad was the Whit Merrifield. I don't know if you guys saw the quotes, but basically, without going through the whole quote, he said, the Royals are going nowhere, so I don't feel like putting this in my body. But then he intimated if I got onto a playoff team and I had to go to Canada, well, maybe I would get that shot. It would be worth my while, And wow, that to be his teammate, that's really got to say something, And if the quotes are true, I only saw it in one source today. It was a KC radio guy. I haven't seen it elsewhere, but it sounds like Dayton Moore was really upset. Said he was disgusted by the quote. So if that's a true story, I would bet that the Whit Merrifield time in Kansas City is running low. If they're going to be able to try to move him at the deadline, and then if he goes to the right team, he might have to get a shot. So that'll be interesting to hear more about that too. My ugly was definitely an ugly. You probably saw the video earlier this week. Youth game looked like about a U12 game. Gunfire outside the stadium, outside the field in North Carolina. All the kids are hitting the deck. Ugly situation. But to me, and again, this people are going to go Second Amendment stuff. It's fine. The worst part that's coming out of it is the coaches who were on the field that night were quoted saying that they would like to carry, if they're permitted, they want to carry their weapons for protection on the field. And again, we don't have to talk about gun rights. I don't care about that. I just know this. As an umpire, I'm not working a game where the coaches are strapped. I'm not doing it. I'm not going to argue an obstruction with a guy who doesn't know the rules but is carrying a 9mm. Okay? Not doing it. So hopefully that's just a one-time thing. It was quoted on the Today Show, though, so I thought that was a pretty major outlet to saying these coaches would like to carry weapons. But I'm not umpiring with weapons on the field. I'll take a pass. I'll take up fishing.
It's bad enough that there are big metal bats there. No, I mean, all it takes is everybody's seen, even otherwise reasonable people lose it for some reason during sports. And all it takes is the wrong person to snap. And yeah, I mean, doesn't seem ideal. Although there are probably a bunch of people out there carrying that we don't even know about anyway.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I'm sure I probably umpired numerous times where parents sitting behind home plate have a concealed permit, and they got a gun right there. I mean, I'd be, naive to think otherwise. But ignorance is bliss. I'd rather not know, and I'd rather not see it. And if I do see it, I'm out.
maybe there's a in the line of fire style Malkovich out there who's modified his radar gun stalker to an actual weapon. Take out the umpires one by one.
The fan, it's was that the movie? Yeah, was it Robert De Niro, right?
Yeah, Wesley Snipes.
Yeah. No, but before we move on, look, tonight I got really mad that some douchebag decided to run from second to tag up by 12 runs in softball. I get irrationally mad.
Yeah.
Irrationally mad sometimes. So I can't, but I would never think to carry a weapon. Anyway, that's just yeah. So the good for me this week, and I want you guys to take a guess on this one because I would love. This is going to be a little bit of a trivia on the fly here because
I like it.
All right, here we go. I'm gonna give you guys 3 guesses on this pitcher. He is currently in the month of July posting an ERA of 1.53. He's got a FIP of 2.32, and he's got a K per 9 of 6.62. Who am I?
So he's striking out 6 per 9?
6.62 per 9. And in only 3, keep in mind, this is in July only.
And the ERA is what?
1.53.
1.53. All right. 6 strikeouts per 9. Bo Brisky?
Wrong!
I'd be interested to see that, by the way, Christopher. I would be interested to see that. Cuban national team.
Rich Hill.
Wrong!
All right, you got one more guess. Or you got 2 more guesses between you guys. Or one more guess between you two. Or, sorry, you get a guess, Chris. You get a guess, Yooper. I don't know why I could have just said that.
And it could be any pitcher anywhere.
I'll help you guys out. It's an American League East pitcher. There you go. Jeremy's kind of caught on to this a little bit, but I'm not gonna.
Well, you've been interested in the Baltimore guys.
Spencer Watkins?
Wait, where is it?
Yes!
Oh,
there
good
it is.
job.
Yeah,
I would not have thought of that. Yeah.
Yeah. So because Yooper picked up on my my theme of the night. And by the way, the wrong is from a McLaughlin group from SNL. Again, some people in this room are way too young to remember that skit. But this
wrong.
I love
Dana
that.
Carvey. Yeah, Dana Carvey as the McLaughlin group guy who, they ran that show after he was dead. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Wait, the actual show or the SNL?
The actual show. McLaughlin was dead for a while, and they still ran it. I believe that's what it was.
Yeah, well, it's good entertainment.
Yeah, Spencer Watkins. Here's the thing about Spencer Watkins. Everybody knows the story. And I think you said this last year, or Chris. I can't remember who said that, but he essentially was going to walk away from baseball after pitching in Erie, and then goes out, and it was a feel-good story. But he's still an effective pitcher for Baltimore. It's amazing. It's impressive. Yep. Honestly, like, it's, to me, it's. What else are you gonna say?
I mean, that goes back to my whole thing about not my whole thing necessarily, but taking pitchers outside of the first round. Like, so many of these guys, like, the difference between a first rounder and a fifth rounder is like a mile an hour, or like a couple 100 RPMs or whatever, and they could just fix that now. You can just, there's ways to engineer that now. I was looking the other day. You remember Drew Smith? I don't know if people remember him because he was drafted by the Tigers, but then he never made the majors with the Tigers. He was traded for Mikey Matuk, I believe.
Oh, Drew Smith.
Drew Smith. I'm sorry if I didn't. He is. He's pitching for the Mets this year. 38 innings, 10 strikeouts per 9, ERA of 3.05. Just
good. Joe Mantiply.
Joe Mantiply. Yeah.
I mean, who are figured he'd be around?
I was gonna say the former Tigers are in the All-Star team. Yeah, John Schreiber. It's becoming ridiculous. I mean,
it's not just former Tigers. Like we've talked before about, like Jose Cisnero was kind of out of nowhere, right? It happens to everybody. The pitchers. I don't know. It's good. It's cool to see former, guys not give up and get a chance and perform well.
Yeah. And the other part of my good, by the way, bonus track has been Christian Santana, who's come back and he had a home run tonight for Lakeland. Shout out to the Reds minor league guy who posted it earlier. It was a shot too, and that was, I think that was an opposite field shot too, I believe. Or no, maybe it was, I don't know. But either way, I want to mention Christian Santana and Roberto Campos, which I'm working on an article for Tiger Mind's report on Campos too, because he's been a very consistent hitter for Lakeland. And there was an article today in the Free Press about Isaac Pacheco being 19. It's like, hi, I'm Roberto Campos. Listen, I'm 6 months younger and I'm hitting better than him. And you're not giving me love. Why? Yeah. And no, yeah, Mike Meyer in the YouTube chat makes a really good point. His home run rate, 2.2 last year. Now it's 0.9 in 2022 because of that left field fence.
They knew what they were doing.
Genius. Yeah. Yeah. Meanwhile,
that story, I don't remember where it was, but it was a story about a guy back in like the early 80s convinced the White Sox to alter like a foot or like 2 feet. It wasn't even like moving the fence. It was just like moving the field a little bit. And it saved him a ton of runs somehow. It was one of the early crazy things like that. I'd have to find an article. But it was
I love that. I would love to see that, man. That'd be sweet.
I'll see if I can find it.
Bad, by the way, is the White Sox and Tony La Russa. And here's why it's bad. So this week, Toronto fired Charlie Montoya, and they're over 500 in the wild card race. But Toronto's like, no, that's not good enough. We have a better talented team, and you should be doing better. But again, the amount of, in terms of the clubhouse problem, there's a clubhouse problem. Has been reported on, and it's still an issue. And with a comment today along the lines, he goes, "There's nothing wrong with the guts on this team," and it's like that comment is fine. It's a rah comment, but when you're making decisions, the clubhouse thing. And this was something Bob Nightingale. It was a Bob Nightingale report, but I guess he was tipped off by somebody. And in terms of having major connections, they didn't say who was telling it, but there was. I guess it was the Tim Anderson video we saw last week. Chris, remember that where Crystal shared it with us, and how when he was an All-Star game, where he got nominated All-Star game, it's like they're like, hey,
it was a funeral parlor in there, like nobody clapped or anything like that, and they compared it to the season before and how excited everybody was and just other teams. And it was dead in there.
Wow.
Yeah. And they blame, and I guess the leak is coming from they supposedly Dallas Keuchel is the leak. So, but either way, the whole thing. And Walter, we'll get to your question in a second. That's a good question. We'll talk about that here in a second. And my ugly tonight is has nothing to do with, it has something to do with baseball, but it's more of on a more personal note. And I'm trying to see if I can find it, or share it. I actually can. Hang on, I'll share it right now because I've just found it. So it is something that when you're growing up, there's a place you always go to, whether it's a park or a baseball field or whatever you find that is your sanctuary. This right here is this is St. Sebastian's. That's where I went to grade school at. Today, they tore down the field, the baseball diamond. Oh. And it sucks because now the church got renamed something else now. And this is gone. And when you get older, things change. I understand that. But I don't live too far from here. And I drove home and I stopped and I was just, I'm not gonna lie, kind of hit me in a certain way. And this field was dedicated to Wally Liss, who ran the program, I believe, in the 60s and 70s. And the field was dedicated to him in 1981. And it's gone. The school closed now 2 years ago. And they had the parish festival was here, all this cool stuff. And it's gone. And this is the other one. This is, This is the last. That's what's left of it. But this is the other diamond where the dedication sign was. This is where the softball team would play sometimes. They had a soccer field here too, and we had our recess there. So we would play football, tackle football here, and we just do whatever people do at recess and all that. And they even tore down the damn basketball rim. That's what sucks too. So anyway, it's an ugly thing for me, and change is inevitable. I get it, and things can't last forever, but it still sucks because there's another field I played a lot more little league on, but this was I played a year here, 8th grade, because I always played on travel, and the 1 year I played here was CYO baseball, and I learned a lot from Coach Lemieux, who was the coach here. He taught my brother. Actually, I showed us to Brian Sikowski of Perfect Game. He also was pretty. It was like, man, that sucks, because Brian spent a lot of time here because he went to arch rival Sacred Heart. So, but yeah, that is my ugly of the week, and yeah, it's I don't know, it sucks. Anyway,
those are tough. Those are tough things, man. They really are. You spend so much of your childhood there. I used to play at the VFW lodge. They had a big, massive front yard, and all the kids played baseball there every day. And now when I go back to my hometown, it's just a grown-over field. It's a sad thing. And we had the best baseball field in Upper Michigan in our hometown. We took care of that thing like a jewel. And now you go back up there, and the scoreboard has fallen down, and there's a lot of weeds in the infield. They still play on it, but it's a piece of crap. And people just kind of fell out of love with it, which is a shame. So I know what you mean. It's never fun.
Yeah, for us, our backyard was the perfect wiffle ball field for 4 or 5 years, from like the 80s till we moved. It was just a perfect diamond, fences, perfect distance. We played hours of wiffle ball every day for summers on end, and then we moved, and It sucked. And I was like, but our wiffle ball field. So we tried to recreate it at our new house, and it just wasn't the same. It was not. It wasn't. We couldn't have it. There was no going back, and it's a super giant bummer that still bothers me to this day, to the point where I was like, I need to write a book about that just so I can remember it. But
yeah, that's a good point. That's a good way to go about it, because even finding information on Wally lists and the program, the St. Sebastian program was for the summer program. It was at an address. If anybody lives in this area, Dearborn Heights area. Hydrate appliances, yeah, it's not too far from my house, and that was a big thing. You played on the hockey rink they had over here for a while, or you played District 7 baseball, or the other league that I played in, and all of it's not the same. I don't know. And I don't try to get sentimental, because nostalgia. I always believe nostalgia is a thing you can sell, and like right now everybody like has 90s night, 80s night. It's just a stupid way to remember stuff, and it's never the same. It really isn't. I mean, yeah. Anyway, let's not bum the room out. Let's keep going. And we have some questions this evening. We got one, or do any from the? You know what? I forgot to post for questions this week, so that's my bad. Oh no, we did get one in chat. We did get one in chat. We got one on Twitter too. So we got one from Walter here, and says, "What relief pitchers are you good at letting go of? It sucks to have such a solid bullpen for the first time in a while with the results from these results from."
Yeah, I have been thinking about that a lot too. The common complaint for all these years is bullpen's terrible. Now you got a good one, and you want to break it apart. But the facts are, bullpens are so weird. There's no guarantee they're going to have this next year if they brought back the same group of guys. And I think you have to do what you think is right and move guys who have some value. And also probably move them quick, because let's face it, Michael Fulmer looks good, and he's probably valuable even on a short deal, but he has an injury track record a mile long. They need to get this month over with and move him. It's every time he takes the mound, something could go awry. So I think you got to move Fulmer, because you're probably not going to give him a 3-year deal to bring him back. Or a 2-year deal. Maybe you do, but I kind of doubt that. I don't see it. And then really, you just let the market dictate. I don't know who's more, if people are more interested in Jimenez or Lang or Soto or Chafin. My gut tells me Chafin, and I would a good lefty might bring something that you can use.
Not to mention, too, he's under club control for a while, so that Gregory Soto would command a big haul back. But what about you, Chris?
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I've long felt, and this isn't fantasy and in real life, that a good bullpen on a bad team is just absolutely useless. It's like having a sail on a speedboat. Like, hey, all right, that looks good. It doesn't help us at all. So, yeah, I'd be totally fine with getting rid of. I think Fulmer's a no doubter. Got to get rid of trade him. I would trade Jimenez because I think you can get some value there for he's young and he's got another year after this year. So you might be able to get something a little bit more from that. And I would absolutely trade Chafin because I think he's pitching well enough. He's got an opt out. Yep. So he can just opt out after the year anyway. So, you got to move him or risk losing him for nothing, basically. I mean, you'd like for him to come back for $6 million or whatever, but I'm sure he didn't sign to be on a last place team or, second to last place team. So, yeah, those are the three main guys. I would listen on Soto and Lang, I guess. But those guys are still so young, or at least young enough to have enough team control left that you don't have to worry about them kind of, costing you any real money. It's like $1 or $2 at the most. And I know Cisneros coming back soon, but I don't think he's going to pitch enough to really be able to get any value from him in a trade. Probably. Let's see. Beyond that, like Vest is kind of in the same boat. Like I don't know. I think it's those three that I think you really want to shop aggressively, and I think like you're always going to get people asking for a lefty. You can get left-handers out, and Chafin does that and gets righties out, so that's super valuable.
I've thought about this question too, and I thought about something that I noticed with the last start from Alex Fado. Look, it would okay. This is a hypothetical, totally thing in my head that I made up, but let's say that you trade Fulmer, you trade Chafin, and you have so your closer to the future is Alex Lang, and he's the one closing games out. What if you put Alex Fado in the bullpen? Look, I know Chris, you and I have talked about this idea before the last couple of years when he was coming back, and Yooper, I think we've talked about this too, in the old MCB Slack channel. If we have to look at his numbers. I think the third time around he starts to get kind of roughed up a little bit. So if he has he's got two good wipeout pitches. Put him in the bullpen and see what happens. I know people are going to give me crap for that, but again, if they're going to make a trade, and let's say they're going to probably get a pitcher back in return that's going to be, and they just signed somebody that's in Toledo right now, who made their start. Yeah. I'm not sure what that's the guy they picked up from Baltimore.
Yep.
So again, the Tigers could get creative and put Faedo in the bullpen. If they trade Fulmer, if they trade one of these arms, because you could put Matt Manning right now is pitching rehab in Lakeland right now, so you're going to still have an issue with where to fit everybody in the first place. So,
no, I think that's a great point. I also think that there's probably a better than 50% chance that Wilmer Flores and Reese Olson are relievers in the big leagues, and they can probably be pretty good high leverage relievers. You never know until they're there.
Right.
And obviously you want to keep these guys as starters as long as possible, but there's a good chance that they won't be. So, in as hard as it is to believe for Tigers fans, because 20 years it didn't happen, it's easier to build a bullpen, I think, than it used to be. And
they might get Funkhauser back next year.
Yeah, Funkhauser. And like there are other random guys who might come up and be, like we talked about Hill and Brisky, they might be back of the rotation starters. Austin Bergner might randomly be a back of the rotation starter out of nowhere. Brent Herter could be a reliever, or probably a reliever, but
Brendan White
could, yeah. So they have options in the minors that they're, you don't take for granted how good these guys have been this year. But if you can get value and you can get any kind of any bats that are actual bats, you have to do it because they just don't have anybody who can hit.
Nobody.
And will teams give up actual bats who can hit for relievers? I don't know. It doesn't seem like something that smart clubs would do, but I guess there will be teams who have too many bats, I suppose.
Yeah, Seattle. You never know what Seattle's going to do, and that's somebody on Twitter was. Yeah, somebody on Twitter is like, "Well, everybody has pitching." Nah, you can never have enough pitching. I never understand. Like, if that's one thing about baseball that I will not budge about, is you can never have enough pitching. Period.
We can never have enough good pitching. You can always upgrade your pitching. The best pitching team in baseball will probably, I don't know who it is right now, Atlanta, Houston, the Dodgers. I guarantee you that they will all add bullpen arms because they always do.
Yeah, as they should. Okay, and so the question I got from Mark, who DM'd me on Twitter, he's always good about the questions. Last week he sent me one and I totally missed it. That was my fault. But the question for him this week was, in 2021, Badu had a 330 OBP and walked 9.8% of the time. If he can be anything close to that now that he's been called up, how fun would it be to bat him leadoff and slide Green to second?
Yeah, be fine.
Yeah, I mean, he was batting leadoff for a good portion last year. I do like Riley Green in leadoff. Right now, he's getting a fair share of walks for sure. I don't know. Yeah, ideally, if you have Green and Badu both at their full force of what they can do, then I go Badu 1 and Green 2. That would be great. But Badu just hasn't seemed right. He had that hot streak in Toledo. He's trying to find his feet again in the major league level, and Green is struggling right now too. But that would be a super exciting top of the order for sure. And one of the things Badu was doing down in Toledo was hitting lefties, which was something that everybody was worried about last year. But now I'm just concerned about him just hitting it all. I just want to see him make some hard contact.
Yep.
For now, I kind of like him batting like 9th or 8th or 9th. And, he can draw a walk down there or get an extra base hit and really cause some havoc when the lineup turns around for somebody like Green who might be able to drive him in. Theoretically, if he's got a swing right, which just hasn't seemed right since spring training, unfortunately.
Yeah, and again, the whole Lothman ball. By the way, I'm just gonna put this picture in the YouTube chat. The Detroit Tigers live draft show Sunday, starting at 7:00 over at Woodward Sports. So I just want to plug that in real quick. Yeah, and look, the thing about Akil Badu, it was a positive sign, is that he got his first hit off a lefty, and he's promptly struck. I mean, he's going to struggle at the plate, but and there's one thing about Badu on the top of the lineup like that. I like how they had him 9th and they had Green 1, so that I thought that was kind of cool, and maybe that's what it is for now. But I think for a while, I think after maybe the All-Star game. All-Star break, rather, they could try that out and I'd be fine with it. And yes, Walter, I am pumped for Saturday because the Futures game is now becoming our own version. Everybody, Lions fans had the Super Bowl. Well, the Futures game is becoming our thing. The draft weekend is becoming, sadly, the thing we're looking forward to the most. We're all the Tigers World Series right now. We're jazzed up about that because I'm interested to see what Flores does. I think he's pitching for the United States, right? U.S.
It's the American and National now.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot. They don't do it like World or anymore like that.
Yeah,
but yeah, Flores had a good last appearance too in Erie, and middle relief is fine by me if he ends up that way. Because again, the Ascension. Let's think about it this way: what was he doing right now? Last year, he was his 4th start in Lakeland. It was probably around his 4th or 5th start in Lakeland. And he's now in the Baseball America top 30 midseason update. He's number 3.
He's in the top 100.
He's in the top 100. He's in a year and a half. He went from literally a guy that I remember right around. I think it was around August, Chris. I think we were like, oh, look at this numbers Flores is putting up. Who's this Flores guy? And then we went to go look. Remember how went to go look for a video for him, and all we could find was his brother.
Yeah, well, I remember going on Instagram and finding some video of him doing various exercises, and we were looking at minor league splits was active for 1 year, and so we could go down and look at his spin rate. It's pretty interesting. His velocity's up, and he's a big dude, and let's see what he does. And then they kind of shocked us by sending him to the AFL, and shocked everybody because he didn't perform terribly well there, but everybody was like, look at his arm. He's touching 98, a couple of different breaking balls that look really nice. So. Yeah, I mean it's been an awesome development, and what do you know, an undrafted free agent for $20,000, the top 100 prospect. But go ahead and spend the number 12 pick on a pitcher. Why not?
Wrong!
No, I asked, I texted or tweeted at JJ Cooper just to ask him if how many undrafted free agents from like the domestic market have made a top 100 list, and he didn't tell me, but he did mention Eric Gagne. So there's one.
Yeah.
I don't. And to be fair, I don't. Flores is not the traditional undrafted free agent because that was only a 5-round draft. I'm sure somebody would have taken him in the top 20 rounds. Probably, hopefully, the Tigers at some point, but you never know.
Yeah. Either way, I'm looking forward to this weekend, and the Tigers right now. I have a feeling that the rest of the week against Cleveland's not going to be good because the Tigers do not play well traditionally in Cleveland. I mean, they're still up for the season series. You never know what's going to happen the next couple of days, but they're running on fumes.
Completely anecdotal, but I also feel like they always play poorly heading into the All-Star break. Like even back when they were good. Like there was a game, I feel like they lost like a 19-inning game to the Blue Jays once, the final game before the All-Star break, and it was 2015 or something like that, and they had a horrible loss against the Twins where they blew like a 5-run lead or something like that. It was just like, come on, guys. But again, anecdotal.
On that note,
okay,
gentlemen,
tell me this one quick. Pre-draft, I mean, the draft is Sunday. We won't be on again.
Mm-hmm.
If the Tigers draft blank, I will walk home. I'll go home happy that night. Who you got? One guy.
I like that question. If the Tigers draft Jace Young, I'd be happy. Again, and Joe Doyle said this on the pod earlier. It's not a guarantee because of how polished these guys are, how well it's going to work out. But considering the Tigers' recent draft history, and it's just it's a hitter. And look, it's desperate as this sounds in my voice. It's a guy, and it's his batting stance. I mean, he has that Mickey Telton thing going, but it's more like straight up. And the manager, it looks like he's doing it like this with this. Nobody obviously listening to the podcast can hear me do this, but if you're watching it on YouTube, it's almost like he's holding like a pull stick, a pull cue. The way he's got it's really fascinating to watch him bat. And I like the power potential. His defensive, he could be a defensive liability wherever you're going to put him, but I'd be happy with him, honestly. No, Walter, I wish he did. He does not have a big wad of chew like Mickey.
Yeah, I mean, if we're being realistic, I'd be happy with Gavin Cross. I don't know if he's going to be there. And also Zach Neto. Those are two guys I'd be happy with if they get.
Zach Neto, I'd be perfect. I'd be floored. I mean, he's been.
I have a feeling he's going to go higher than most people are projecting.
Yeah,
just, a guy who might be able to stick at shortstop, who's got a long track record of hitting. That's going to be a high one on any team with a model.
Yeah, Cam Collar would be nice, but that's also wishful thinking. What about you, Yooper?
I was going to say Cam Collier. That was my guy.
Yeah.
Obviously, my guy is Kumar Rocker, and I will die on the Kumar Rocker Island. However, I don't think they're going to take him. Cam Collier is the guy I would like. I love that he's only 17 years old yet. I think that extra 6-8 months of physical development at that age is huge versus some of the guys like that. The kid from Pennsylvania, Cole Young, I believe he's 19 already. Mm-hmm. That's a huge difference. So if somehow Collier slips to them, I think that'll be a real nice night for the Tigers.
Yeah, that'd be huge. That was a guy. He's another one that it felt like maybe 2 months ago that was a possibility, but now he might even go in like the top 5. It seems like, because I think a lot of people do like that. He looks like he's going to hit for power and stick at third, and he's not even 18 for another 4 months or something like that.
Yep.
Yeah, and there's a lot of pedigree behind his draft too. I mean, there's a lot. Young comes from his brother plays for the Rangers. You have Crawford, whose dad, he looks exactly like his dad. Carl, he looks spitting image. Justin Crawford looks exactly like Carl Crawford. Then there is the Cross. By the way, his dad played in the minors for the Braves.
I didn't know that. I know that. I mean, Brooks Lee, his dad, is a coach and a hitting coach, and his uncle played. And Luke Collier was Cam Collier's dad. It's all over the top 15 picks or so. All these guys with tons of And Jackson Holiday, his dad, of course, Matt Holiday, he's got a younger brother who people think is going to be even better.
For a second, I thought you said Geddy Lee. For some reason.
Geddy Lee, rushing.
Go ahead.
I'm just wondering. There's always that one guy. Sometimes it's a high school kid who drops. We're expecting him to go in the top 6. Someone who fades to the 10-12 range. Do the Tigers get a gift? The one guy who slides and they grab him. That would be kind of a fun scenario too. And I don't know who that would be. You pick one, but
yeah. There's a lot of guys in this talent, or there's a lot of guys in this draft that could. I mean, Tamar Johnson too would be cool. I mean, if he fell, I wouldn't mind that either. But again, I think he would be one of the guys that if he fell, take him. It's even like, look, as much as everybody likes Brock Porter and he's a local kid and all that, the bottom line is, Chris mentioned this earlier tonight in the podcast, they can develop pitching now the first time in God knows how long. Let that work out the way it wants to. And if there's an arm, later at the 51 pick, like something like, for example, somehow if Dylan Lesko, I don't think he will, but somebody like that, or if you're talking about Brandon Barrera, left-handed pitcher out of high school, later in the draft, and he's around, or was it Cooper Chirpy?
Chirpy.
I mean, those guys are. I mean, yeah. I think you can get a good college pitcher. I think, or a talented college pitcher, I should say, probably at that 51 pick. But it's probably going to be one of those guys who's got injury questions.
Yeah,
like Peyton Pallette, Landon Sims.
Someone like Dylan Smith, who the Tigers got last year. Someone not.
Yeah.
Age.
Yeah.
I'd be fine with that, but not at 12. Not at 12. So we'll
Kumar
see what
Rocker.
happens.
Wrong!
You just wanted me to play it, didn't you? You wanted me to just
Wrong!
Yeah. Definitely. Anyway.
Hey, has Gavin Cross struck out 19 guys in a College World Series game? I don't think he has.
No, he has not. No.
Boy, good.
Kate Horton did break out 13 in a College World Series final. So there's that.
Oh boy. You know what? All right. You know what? I'm gonna call this right now before we get out of here. Peyton Pallette screams Tiger pitcher. University of Arkansas.
Yep.
So I'm gonna call him, and I'm gonna go out of my way to say somebody like Max Martin later on in the draft.
Ooh, Maximus Martin.
Yeah, Maximus. I was
Peyton
gonna say that
was Peyton Pallette was getting Walker Buehler comps before he got hurt last year for his body type and his the rhyme.
That's why I mentioned it, because we got some Dodger brass in the organization. So, but thank you so much for listening to Woodward Tigers here at woodwardsports.com. Draft show Sunday. We'll be streaming live. Please join us, and this will be us in a professional studio setting. And I'm stoked. We're somehow gonna pack everybody in one guest. All the guests will be there, and so come join us 7:00 till the Tigers draft. So it could be 2-3 hours. I don't know. We'll see. And again, I'm waiting for the disappointment. I'm not gonna have my drop board, so that's gonna unfortunately. But I'm gonna see if I can get Spencer to have at least this ready, or.
You did it. You crazy son of a bitch. You did it.
Hopefully he has one of those ready. So for myself, Chris, and Yooper, we'll talk to you next time.